Hello everyone, this is Angela and welcome to my channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share the video. I live a traditional Kemetic lifestyle, and for those who do not know, it means that I follow the cultural lifestyle that was common during the time of ancient Egypt. And this includes consulting with oracles. This is something I've been doing since 2009. So the goal of a Kemetic person is to live in an ongoing state of peace. It does not mean that we will not face challenges. However, our reaction to challenges within our lives is centered on the restoration of a state of peace. I decided to consult the oracles on behalf of the matters concerning the passing of Mr. Christian Toby Obumseli, aka or also known as Toby, due to the circumstances surrounding his passing on April the 3rd, 2022, and also its aftermath. But before I go any further, I would first like to extend my deepest condolences to all who love Toby and were affected by his passing. It's tragic. A couple of disclaimers. First, the topics discussed in this video may be too much for some of you in the audience to bear, and at this time I invite you to tune away from this video. Secondly, my sharing of oracle responses is not an attempt to proselytize or ask anyone to join me, or to live my culture, or do the things that I do. I am just simply sharing insights that I find may be helpful, and you know how it goes. It's for entertainment purposes only. Everything discussed here is also alleged. If that will be too much for you to hear, then please feel free to leave in peace. For those who are still here, thank you. In case there are some among you who do not know the story, on April the 3rd, Toby, age 27, was deleted. He was toe tagged by his then girlfriend and highly successful OnlyFans model Courtney at the age of 25 in their exclusive high-rise Miami residence. In the wake of Toby's passing, though, old tweets were unearthed that revealed his misogynoir. Misogynoir is a phrase that was created to describe exclusively the misogyny towards black women by combining the words misogyny, or hatred of women, and the French word noir, which means black. As a result of these tweets, African American women have collectively declined to participate in rallying around his cause for justice. Toby has a brother whose name is Jeffrey, and Jeffrey has issued a statement on the family's behalf, first of all denouncing Toby's tweets. Jeffrey has also pleaded for assistance for himself. You know, Jeffrey is saying, I know how you feel about my brother, but can you help me? As an aggrieved family member, instead, from the black community, in securing justice on Toby's behalf. Now, here's the issue. The powerhouse of the black community are African American women, for the most part. Yes, there are men who have power too, but overall, numbers-wise, percentage-wise, it's primarily African American women. And it is the African American women who are collectively choosing to remain inactive in the wake of the disparaging tweets. So many things are being said about Toby, about Courtney, about African American women's inactivity, about African American men's, their collective silence. So I figured that I would consult with the oracles and share their responses in order to provide all with insight of the spiritual perspective of this matter. The goal in doing so is simply to regain peace. So here we are. Let's get to the first question. Now, the first question was basically, please comment about the circumstances surrounding the passing of Mr. Christian Toby Obumseli. The first oracle that was consulted was the Medu Neter oracle, the cards. The first card that was presented as a response was that of Tahuti, and it was an attempt to Chaya's position. Okay. So, Tahuti is an ancient Egyptian deity or representative of energy that symbolizes wisdom. Tahuti is known to be the type of wisdom that will have two bitterly quarreling people, walk away from the situation as best friends because of the type of wisdom that can be infused into a situation. Okay, so Tahuti showed up in an attempt to Chaya's position, which is not favorable because it demonstrates that there was a lack of wisdom in their relationship and in the situation altogether. The next card that was presented was Heru, also known as Horus, and it was in a two to Chaya's position, which is also represented by willpower. It is associated with people in managerial positions who are doing business. Heru's energy is a fiery energy, and it is the representative of like youth and young men in particular, men in their youth. The combination of Tahuti and Heru cards together in this position, what it's stating is that there were incorrect judgments and intuitions that played a contributory role in the events leading to Toby's passing. This is not blaming him for his own passing, so please, none of that. It's simply saying that overall it contributed, the lack of wisdom contributed to the events. And when we step back and look at the situation, both of the people involved are still in their 20s. This is a time in many people's lives that is fueled by hopes and aspirations, which is good. People in their early 20s especially are new to adulthood. It was just only a few years ago at the most that they were teenagers. So now that they're adults and adulthood is new to them, there's often a lot of idealism, which is sometimes not rooted in reality, that is guiding the decisions of people during that time in their lives. Now, idealism is good. It's a very creative energy. So it's all right. And it's even expected during that time in one's lives. And both people were very business oriented and very ambitious, as symbolized by the hot energy of Heru. However, as people hit their mid-20s, they begin to realize that 30 is around the corner, or 30, age 30 is coming near. And most who are wise will begin to accept that they need to become more serious about their life's plans moving forward. So for those who wish to marry and have children, they realize that it's better to do it now than to struggle with it later. It's better to go ahead and get married, purchase property, and invest into savings to build and stabilize the nest. It is the time to take quote-unquote adulting issues more seriously. So, Toby at age 27 and Courtney at age 25 were at the beginning of this sobering time period in their lives where decisions needed to be made regarding their future. Now, whether they were going to have a future together or not, regardless, this is a time where some consideration needs to be made. So some people understand that they have to dial back some on living la vida loca or the lifestyle of partying from sundown to sunup and focus on nesting. Nesting meaning, get married, buy the house, get stable, and so on and so forth, because when it comes to investments, the earlier you do it, the better off you'll be in the long run. However, there are others who will party until their final breath, and their celebration of life also will be a festival too. And you know what? We're not here to judge. Either lifestyle is okay. There's no judgment here. party, party from sundown to sunup, or walk away from it all and focus on marriage and having children. Either way is fine, okay? However, every decision has a cost. And according to the Tahuti Timchachaya's response from the Medu Neter Oracle, both Toby and Courtney were unprepared for the reality that their mismatched energies will play at this stage in their lives. Tahuti is symbolized in one form as the patience and wisdom of an animal, a type of bird. It's called the African sacred ibis bird. When people look up Tahuti or Thoth, sometimes he's depicted as a baboon, and sometimes he's depicted as this particular bird. The reason why is because the ibis was observed by the ancients to patiently wait perfectly still in water for hours upon hours, looking down into the water. The bird will stand so still that fish will come swimming around its legs, thinking maybe, they're swimming around twigs or something. And the bird will allow the fish to come, swim, school around its legs, and get very comfortable before striking at the speed of lightning and picking the fish that it desired. So Tahuti is the type of wisdom that comes with maturity through experiences, okay? It's also the type of wisdom that is associated with the responses provided by oracles. So going back to the ibis bird, for instance, other predatory animals will run headfirst, chasing after its prey, and it will expend its energy while doing so. And this is similar to what happens with a person who is preoccupied with idealism, that hot expense of energy. So the Haru card symbolizes a hot and youthful energy. However, when it's not guided by the coolness of wisdom, represented by Tahuti, one can become blind to the truth. Wisdom is symbolic to the behavior of the ibis bird, which conserves its energy by resting in place and waiting for the fish or a deeper understanding of a situation to appear. This type of cool, calm, and collective wisdom was lacking, according to the Medu Neter Oracle, in the relationship between Toby and Courtney, and this resulted in the unfortunate headlines regarding their lives. When we see the situation, Toby at age 27 and 3 years away from turning 30 was likely more sobered by the reality of the next steps in life than 25-year-old OnlyFans model Courtney, residing at the top of a skyrise in Miami, one of the most party-going destinations on earth. Older adults who have more experience at relationships, they've survived divorces, they were single parents, and now they're raising grandchildren. They've survived having their dreams crushed and their lives thrown off course. They would have been able, while sitting down still, coolly and calmly, that Tahuti energy, to easily see the mismatched and conflicting energies of Toby and Courtney, and advise that this was not a long-term partnership, despite what their intentions may have been in the beginning, allegedly. However, the energy of Tahuti was insufficient, as signified by the Timchachaya's card. So what it means is that either the wisdom was not provided to them, or the advice was given and not followed. Okay. So another oracle was consulted, known as the I Ching. The I Ching is out of China. The I Ching's responses come in the form of hexagrams. There are numerous oracles from many cultures in the world. Oracles are simply devices that, when consulted, provide a response. The response of each oracle is correct. However, each oracle has its own personality, so to speak. So just like if you were to ask 100 people the same question, you're likely to receive 100 different unique responses. However, you will see that the truth is in each response. Okay. So it is the same way with oracles. So regarding the question of the circumstances surrounding Toby's passing, the I Ching offered the first hexagram, which was number 55. Number 55 is associated with abundance. However, there was what are called broken lines, and the hexagram had two of them. The first broken line is the third line. And in this position, it describes a situation where one has it all. I mean, they have everything, but they feel as though they have nothing. Imagine a farmer being blessed with rain after a drought. However, instead of enjoying the blessing that the rain brings in rejuvenating their fields, this farmer walks outside, slips and falls, ends up breaking their arm. So what was intended on being a blessing turned out being, something that brought them harm. That's what it means here, and that's what the I Ching is saying. So they have the rain, but there's also pain. They have the abundance, but they can't enjoy it. So in the midst of abundance that many would consider a blessing, they were facing harm. And there were reports that Courtney and Toby were known for fighting quite often. This is also in alignment with the sobering time at the age and stage that most family-oriented people are in. They're in this, at this time. If they have yet to marry and start a family, By sobering, I don't mean sad. It's more so accepting that if you want to, like for an example, if you want to own a car, that's a very exciting thing. But you also have to pay for gas, insurance, maintenance, and repairs. Understanding that is not a sad thing, but it's not thrilling to most people either. So likewise, if you want to be married and have children, there are times when it's better than when it is not. It's sobering, not necessarily sad. So moving on, the next broken line in hexagram 55 is the sixth line, which points towards isolation. It is symbolic of a person who shuts themselves away from others and only occasionally peeking outside their window to see what's happening. However, they are not going outside their home. Toby and Courtney were known allegedly to have had explosive confrontations with one another. So either or both may have emotionally withdrawn from others within their orbit, including family, friends, and loved ones. Hexagram 55 and its broken lines also present another hexagram, which is number 21. Hexagram number 21 is symbolic of someone biting into something like a dry piece of meat, while not truly knowing its condition or its state until they take the bite. They don't know if this meat is any good. They don't know if it's moldy. They don't know if it's fresh. They see it. They're not sure about the condition, but they won't fully know and they won't fully understand until they bite into it. Or imagine that you have a piece of fruit and it looks fresh on the outside, but it might have been sitting there for a while, so you don't know what the inside looks like. And you're not certain of its interior state. So it can look fresh on the outside, and when you bite into it, it's actually fresh, right? But it can also look fresh on the outside, but you take that bite and it's rotten, it's moldy. This hexagram number 21 symbolizes a situation where you don't know, and there is no other way of knowing except when you take the step of biting into the situation. Now, as it pertains to the situation between Toby and Courtney, what this is saying is something like this took place between the two of them. One of them, and if I were to deduce, I would say that it was Courtney, bit into the other person's fruit. Or in other words, they may have thought that everything was perfect, but when they delved into the other person's situation, when they took a bite of that fruit, they tasted something that was off. They tasted mold. They tasted it. Something was not right. And in doing so, discovered an inconvenient truth. Maybe Toby was getting ready to move on, and so she bit into that and found out that all that glitters wasn't gold and reacted. This is alleged, but this is what the hexagram is revealing. So moving along, there was another question that I asked, and this will be the final question for this video. And it's, please comment about the collective stance of African American women who have declined to actively labor, as far as creating petitions, protesting, and utilizing their collective influence to expedite the investigation into Toby's passing. This was due to tweets where Toby, spoke unfavorably about Black women. So I know that is a long question. Basically, what I'm asking is, please comment about the energy surrounding the behavior of Black women. Why are I'm an African American woman, for those who don't know. What is the spiritual aspect of why we are collectively sitting down? I have my own opinions, but again, we go to the oracle to get that wisdom of how to handle things here in the Kemetic way of life. And I'm just sharing it with you, but by no means with my sharing it with you am I proselytizing to you. I'm just giving you some insight from a different perspective. Okay. So when the oracle was consulted, the first card that was revealed was Sekert. And it reads as a Tutachayas, which is a positive. Now, Sekert is an energy that is associated with high spiritual power. This is this type of spiritual power that will have a terminally ill person walking and talking within a few moments as if nothing ever happened to them. In the Tutachayas position, the Sekert card shows that the energy associated with high spiritual power is flowing, and there is work that needs to be done, but it's flowing in a positive direction. Now, one thing's for certain, this type of power can only be accessed by those who are righteous. They have to be disciplined. You have to be fair. You have to live according to truth. And this power, this is the type of power that's not open to everyone. Well, I take that back. Anyone can achieve it. But when I said initially it's not open to everyone, I meant that not just any old body in any state of being can assess it. You have to be disciplined, and you have to live according to truth. You have to hold yourself accountable. That's who has access to this kind of power. And this is the first card that came up. The next card is Wadjet. And actually, when I did this reading, both cards came up at the same time. Wadjet is the cobra that is found in the king's crown. The king is often known as Pharaoh, but we say king. And when you look at the crown, there's often like a vulture, the head of a vulture next to the head of a cobra. Okay, the cobra is Wadjet and the vulture is Nekabet. What they both symbolize is psychic influence or psychic power. So, for instance, have you ever entered into a luxurious and posh location with fine china, crystal stemware, expensive and bespoke furnishings? I mean, this place, everywhere you look, is luxury, luxury, luxury. And in that place, most people often react by being very careful about how they conduct themselves. You knew without anyone telling you that you were in an environment where only the best will be tolerated. You may have even felt comfortable and perceived yourself as thriving in such an environment, right? So now let's contrast that. Have you ever walked into a filthy location and was immediately repulsed and tried to get away from it as soon as possible? Okay, so the feelings, the thoughts, the chill bumps, and all the reactions that you experience in either situation, that is associated with the energy of Wadjet and Nekabet. Okay. Wadjet showed up in this reading in the Tutachayas position. So here's what it means. The Medu Neter Oracle reveals that what is happening is that Black women, particularly African American women, are collectively wielding their high spiritual power as symbolized by Seckert to shift the incorrect global perspective of her image. Black women are basically saying that I am like the luxurious place filled with the bespoke furnishings, fine china, lead crystal stemware. You have to be aware of your behaviors in my presence. You have to be aware of your surroundings. This isn't a dump. Black women are also saying, I am not the filthy location to be viewed as a dumping ground. The collective of African American women cannot assert their correct image by performing incorrect actions. A person or a people cannot demand respect from all while simultaneously protesting on behalf of one who has disrespected them. It is incorrect behavior. It's conflicting and confusing. You understand? So a luxurious location cannot remain or even claim to be luxurious if they allow someone to trash their environment. The collective of African American women have outlived centuries of being systematically devalued by various groups at various times who abuse their labor for their own gain. In 2022, African American women who, as a collective, have outlived some of the worst inhumanity in global history are simply asserting, not aggressing, but asserting themselves and stating, no more. It's not personal towards Toby or his family. Honestly, he is just another case in a long line of people who have disrespected the collective of Black women, particularly African American women. To be honest, his tweets, as terrible as they are, they're not even the worst. African American women are being deleted at a rate of every 5.5 hours in the United States, on average. Toby did not delete or toe tag an African American woman, so he honestly is not the worst in the African American woman's eyes. Trust me when I say that African American women have a lot on our plates. Nevertheless, Toby's views were on the side of people who have disparaged African American women's image for years and for profits, making us out to be mindless fools who are easily taken advantage of. It is for this reason that African American women have to maintain our domain as a place for those who will understand and respect who we are. That is what the Medu Neter Oracle is stating. Now let's move along to the I Ching Oracle regarding the reasons surrounding African American women's inactivity about Toby's passing. Okay, the I Ching Oracle reveals first hexagram number 25, which is symbolic of being innocent in a situation that turns out to be harmful. So imagine someone is walking along a path, right? But this person does not realize that the portion of the path that they're walking on is about to collapse due to a sinkhole. Okay? African American women, upon hearing the details of Toby's passing, were as disturbed as his loved ones, innocently walking along the path, until the sinkhole or his tweets disparaging Black women surfaced. So going back to the example of the innocent person who is walking along the path, now they are all of a sudden facing a sinkhole. What is this person going to do? Think about it. You're walking along and now the ground is about to cave beneath you. You are going to go into some type of survival mode. So this person is going to do everything that they can to preserve their health and life, right? Well, this is the position of African American women with regards to Toby, according to the Oracle. The fourth line of the 25th hexagram is stress, and this is symbolic in what is inherent in nature. Okay, for instance, A lion roars because that's what a lion does. It's inherent in a lion's nature to roar, right? A rooster will, cock-a-doodle-doo or every morning at sunrise. It is just simply what a rooster does. It's inherent in the nature of the rooster. No one had to teach the rooster how to cock-a-doodle-doo. Nobody had to teach the lion how to roar. Likewise, a healthy human being will not support something or someone who harms them and diminishes their existence. That is simply the nature of healthy human beings. And African American women are simply showing that they too are human. Hexagram number 25 with the stress fourth line yields another hexagram, which is number 42. And this is symbolic of, it's titled like the bowl of the rain god. It is symbolized by wind and thunder. Wind and thunder often precede rain or a change in the weather. Though it may be uncomfortable to bear, the rain is necessary for growth, which will in turn nourish all. So as it pertains to the global image of African American women as a collective and the image of Black women as a whole, we are regaining control of our narratives. The weather is changing, but it's for the good. Now that is the end of the reading and the hexagrams. Now I will give my own personal insight, my opinion, because I felt the need to add additional commentary at this time because of so many things that have been said regarding Toby and Courtney. African American women are being accused of being against interracial dating. Although there are a handful of African American women who would be, who will say to their own, if he or she can't use my comb, don't bring him or her home. Yes, there are. However, the overwhelming majority of us, African American women in particular, could care less. Most of us are directly related to family members who are biracial or multi-ethnic. To hate the pairing of Toby and Courtney would be like hating our own family members. And that's not happening. You understand? We're not going to hate, our own blood. Another thing that has been stated is that African American women feel that Toby deserved what he got. And although many of us feel that the comments in his tweets were hurtful, most African American women, by most I am saying 99.999%, are not so cruel to believe that he deserved to be deleted by his then girlfriend, especially in such a gruesome manner. Most African American women are also mothers. We would never hate someone so much that we would wish that their parents outlived them. That is cold, and it's not how we operate as a collective. Some African American women have outlived their children and are suffering the pain of that loss every single day. We are not so cruel and hateful to wish such a fate on anyone. It is an unbearable pain that will have you not wanting to wake up from your sleep. So no, we are not that way. Most of us actually feel pity for Toby, his loved ones, especially his parents, especially his mother. Can you imagine? She carried her, she carried him in her womb for 9 months, nearly passed away while birthing him, only for all of that effort, nurturing him, raising him, feeding, clothing, nurturing him, getting him through school, getting him through college, getting him off to a point where he could begin to shine in the eyes of the family and continue the family. All of that to be in vain in the end. No, we're not that cruel. Many of us have sent prayers their way, empathizing with their plight. When we hear the details of his passing, Among ourselves, we also collectively feel that it doesn't add up. Some things just don't make sense according to the stories that we've been provided. However, we can no longer allow individuals or other collectives, no matter who they are or where they are from, to treat the domain of African American women as their dumping ground. African American women will no longer behave in a codependent manner because doing so has already cost us tremendously. As much as I can empathize with Toby's brother Jeffrey and his grieving family, there is a flaw in his asking us African American women in particular for assistance. And here's why I say this. Imagine that you are starving, but while your life is in peril through starvation, you are laboring to feed an obese, perfectly able-bodied adult from your plate of food. Now, as I say this, I have nothing against obese people. But the analogy is clear that an obese person is not starving, right? But in the meantime, while you're feeding this person from your plate, your ribs are showing. Your stomach is growling. Not only that, you had to work a job to buy the groceries. You had to labor to fix the meal and source the plate and the utensils and the spoon to feed this person. And add to it on top of that, this person is now complaining that your food is not good enough. Yet it was your food that they were surviving on and thriving from. African American women's codependency has become so normalized that he is not aware that he is asking us to feed him while we ourselves are starving. So our quote unquote no, is not in cold blood, or it's not being issued with apathy, and the oracle backs that up. Okay. Our no is in fact a redirection. Our saying no is saying that the demographics and our communities who play a role in tearing down our image is who you need to turn to for support. They're the ones who influenced your brother, so they should pay with their time and their resources. There are legions of men, particularly immature and unaccomplished among African American men, who have stated for decades that other groups of women were better at everything than we African American women are. There are legions of women also that ignorantly identify with their sentiments as well. The claim by these men who influenced your brother was that all other women but us, African Americans in particular, us black women, have better looks, better demeanors, better everything. On behalf of African American women, I am stating that those are the people that you need to ask directly for assistance. And I'm saying this very respectfully. These people are able to cash app and super chat certain content creators hundreds of dollars at a time. And they are often trolling in black women's safe spaces. They are also deleting us at a rate on average of every 5.5 hours, even while pregnant with their child. Since our lives are so meaningless in their eyes, we will conserve our efforts. So they have the resources and the time available to assist you. We're not being cold towards you and your family. We African American women collectively are not the type of people who will kick another while they are down. It's not like that. We're just making it clear that we are not to be treated as a trash dump. We also were not as active as we could have been in 2018 on behalf of Stephon Clark, who also disparaged black women and black babies. So this has nothing to do with Toby being of Nigerian descent or from the African continent. Please don't go there, and please don't try to make it about that. It has everything to do with securing the perimeter around our global image for the sake of our collective safety and well-being. Our peaceful protesting stance regarding not assisting those who harm us, no matter who they are, where they are from, regardless of their background, and without regard to whether or not they are one of our own. As the old adage goes, one should not bite the hand that feeds him. We live in truth and peace and sincerely hope that you and your family will receive the justice and closure that you deserve and that you are seeking. On that note, I will end this video. Please like, share, and subscribe and comment. Take care.